In this video, we're going to go over building a reflection from an area where there isn't one. So I've chosen this image taken in New York State. This is taken in Aurora, New York, I believe, at the Mackenzie Childs grounds. It's a furniture place that makes sort of Alice in Wonderland furniture. Very cool place if you ever have a chance to visit there. So I'm starting with this image of a bench taken on the grounds. I'm going to select what I want to have as the reflection, which is most of the image, and then copy and paste that to a new layer. That's Command or Control J. Next, I'm going to go to the transform tool. I'm going to go to flip vertical and turn it upside down. So far, very, very easy, very, very straightforward. And I'm going to pull that down about maybe there. And then I'm going to go up to Image, Reveal All, and that's going to allow us to see the reflection part of this. Now, it's a mirror reflection right now, so not exactly something that is going to be all that useful to you at the moment, but kind of cool when we work with it a bit. So we're going to keep it in a layer, and what I want to do next is kind of create a little bit of a barrier. So a little bit of a drop off, because usually when you go down to, we're going to make this look like it's in water. And usually when you go down to water, there's a little area that isn't quite as hit by sunlight. So I'm going to go down to our background layer, and I'm going to just use the burn tool and just put it down like right about there. And I'm going to hold down the Option because I'm on a Mac, Alt on the PC. I'm in the Dodge tool, so that switches to the burn tool. And then I'm going to click in one spot and then hold down the Shift key and click at the same distance on the other side, same distance from top and bottom. So that's going to give me too wide a berth. I'm going to narrow that down. I don't want it to go into the bench itself. So again, just Option or Alt click with the Dodge tool, and then just go side to side like that. There we go. Now that's going to give us our little bit of drop off there, which is going to be really nice. I can come in on the water part of it too if I want to add just a little bit there. I'm going to drop it down. It's at 90 exposure right now, which is a lot. So I'm just going to give this a little bit less and come up here and do the same thing. So Option or Alt's down in the Dodge tool, go there, and just, you can go over it more than once if it doesn't work the way you want it to. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so next what we're going to do, I want to fill in, because I'm going to have this become an area that doesn't necessarily work as well on white. I'm just going to take that green, and this usually isn't too necessary, but I want to come in here and just sample that green and fill that lower part where it's all white with the green. And it just gives us a little bit more of a base to kind of play with layers. So there we go. Okay, now when I turn the top layer back on, you don't even see it. Okay, next I'm going to stretch that out just a little bit so we get kind of that feeling that it's not as sharp. So in this case, I'm going to motion blur right up here in our blur tools. And what I want to do is put the angle at 90 degrees, so it's straight up and down. And then I'm going to look at the distance, and I may have to zoom out. Oh, sorry, I need to go back because I'm on the wrong layer. And go back to filter, blur, and motion blur, and 90 degrees once more. And then I will get a little bit more of a feeling for how much it should do it. You can see down here, see how it's kind of getting that glassy, watery look now? So in this case, I might want it just a little bit. That looks pretty good to me right there. Okay, now water often has ripples in it. So one of the other things I'm going to do is add a little ripple. In this case, I'm going to go to Distort and Wave. Now, if I just do it the way it is, and this is pretty much the default settings, I believe, let's watch what happens. it makes ripples up and down across, and it's just kind of a mess, and it doesn't look at all like water. So I want the ripples just to go horizontally, just a nice little wave. So it might take a little experimentation here, but I'm going to drop the vertical because I don't want it to wave up and down. I just want it to wave horizontally, down as low as it goes. And then I'm going to drop the wave, the amplitude, which is kind of the height of the wave. I'm going to leave the amplitude and go down on that. Maybe let's try 14 and see how that works. And leave the other part alone. And see, that gives us a kind of a cool looking little wave here. It's still too tall, I think. So I'm going to undo that again. And you can kind of play with this and it gives you a sense of what's going on. So maybe I want to try bringing that up just a bit, maybe 60 there, and go down and drop the wavelength this time. And just showing you the different effects that happen here, that's closer to what I want. I want those tight little waves to be together. So I'm going to once again undo it. It's just a little too much. I'm going to copy and paste this layer over itself. So I have the original layers back up. And now I'm going to come up here and go back to distort and wave. And we're really close on what we want to do. So maybe I'll bring the amplitude down a little bit and see how that works. And bring the wavelength down a bit and just see how we go here. Pretty cool. And then I'm going to just drop the opacity of this layer down. So we're getting a hint of it, but it's not hitting us square in the face, basically. And then the one thing we could do if you wanted, if you like the idea here, is there's my layer, kind of drop down. This layer here is at full opacity. I could drop that down a bit, and if I wanted, I could come back in here where we put all that green and say that we wanted blue for the watercolor, kind of a deepish blue to undertone that water. So when I do this, it gives me the option of letting a little of it shine through or come through. So there we go. And now when I come in here, I'm going to merge those two layers together. And what I want to do now is add a layer mask, go to the gradient tool, and on the layer mask, I want to do a fade off of that. So I'm going to switch from black to white. I want to make sure I'm in the foreground to background gradient there. And then it's reversed, so I'm going to just take that off and then just drag up, and I am in the radial gradient, and I'm not here. Oh yes, I am. I'm the radial gradient, so I want to switch to the linear gradient. Now with these later versions of Photoshop, you can edit your layer mask on the fly like that. So it's really kind of nice. I can switch this around. I can do anything I want as far as keeping the distance between the start of the gradient and the finish of the gradient. I want the top of that completely transparent, so I may want to come down here more like that. So that's just a really, really simple little watery kind of effect that we've got right here, as you can see. And it looks pretty good. If you think it looks too regular, we can always come in here. I'm going to merge visible and bring everything into one layer. That's Command Option Shift E, and it puts everything on the top of your layers panel. Doesn't erase any of my layers here. If you're on the PC, it is Control Alt Shift E. And that way I can go in, if I want to soften anything, I can go into the mixer brush, which has disappeared from my tools over here. So where is my mixer brush? Right there. Okay. And I can come in and just come in at a very low wetness setting right here. right there, down in there. And I don't want to be bringing in any color, so I can just come in and very, very softly kind of soften up the edges of things so they don't look quite so mechanical. And I'm doing this on this kind of insurance layer. Oops, and I don't want to do that too much. I don't want to blur things quite so much. And that will give me some backwards kind of flexibility and not make it look quite so mechanical. Everything's happened so evenly when we're looking at things that are produced by machines. So we want to kind of randomize that a little bit. You can also come in and just throw a little bit of blur on that, and we'll put it on first and then come in and just paint it back in where we want it. So in this case, I'm going to come in almost like that and then go to the history panel right here. I'm going to come in, click on the state before I put on the blur, which means I have no blur here, and then go to the history brush and I can just paint it in where I want it. Like, I don't want this tree to be so completely solid. And so I'm coming in and just kind of getting rid of the lines there and blurring them up a little bit. So it just makes it a little more organic looking. And I'm doing that only where I want. It doesn't have to go everywhere. And you can paint it horizontally or vertically. And that kind of gives you a sense here that things are going on. And in this case, I'm just going to crop off that little bottom section that didn't quite get there. So that's the first thing about reflections. And next video, we're going to show you some more stuff.